The relentless winter of 2026 is finally showing signs of loosening its icy grip on the United States. After weeks of historic snowstorms, catastrophic ice events, and bone-chilling Arctic outbreaks that have left millions shivering and hundreds of thousands without power, the global computer models are now signaling a major pattern change arriving by the middle of February. The deep cold that has dominated the eastern two-thirds of the nation is about to give way to much warmer, milder temperatures. And for many of you who have been suffering through this brutal stretch, that news couldn't come soon enough. But before we get to the warmth, we have to get through one more significant Arctic blast this coming weekend. And trust me, this one is going to be dangerous. Let me start with where we are right now. After the historic snowstorm that buried the Carolinas this past weekend, with areas like Asheboro, Greensboro, and Charlotte seeing 12 to 18 inches of snow, the weather pattern is finally taking a breather. Looking at the current satellite and model data, we're seeing much quieter conditions across the country than we've experienced in weeks. This is the calmest the atmosphere has looked in at least 2 weeks, and honestly, it's a welcome sight after the chaos we've endured. Over the next few days, we're looking at relatively minor weather systems. A weak disturbance will bring perhaps an inch or two of snow across parts of Indiana, southern Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia, with some light rainfall across the deep south. This is not a significant system by any stretch. No severe weather, no major accumulations, just a minor inconvenience compared to what we've been dealing with. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Following that system, the pattern becomes even quieter through midweek. Another clipper system will clip the Great Lakes and Northeast, but this one is essentially a nothing burger. Maybe an inch or two of snow, nothing that should cause major disruptions. The main impact from this system will be the cold air it ushers in behind it. By the weekend of February 7th and 8th, the map looks remarkably quiet. Some lake effect snow will develop in the wake of the Arctic air moving over Lake Michigan and Lake Ontario. Those lakes still have enough open water to generate enhancement. Lake Erie, however, is nearly completely frozen at this point, so lake effect off that body of water will be minimal. Here's where things get serious, though. While the storm activity quiets down, the cold is about to intensify dramatically. This coming weekend, February 7th, 8th, and 9th, is shaping up to be one of the coldest stretches of the entire winter for the Great Lakes and Northeast. We're talking about temperatures plunging well below average, with single-digit readings both day and night becoming common. Some areas could see overnight lows dropping to 20 below zero, and when you factor in the strong northwest winds, wind chills could feel like 40 to 55 below zero in the coldest locations. Let me be direct about this. These are life-threatening conditions. Frostbite can occur on exposed skin in minutes at these temperatures. If you have outdoor plans this weekend anywhere from the upper Midwest through the Northeast, please reconsider or take extreme precautions. This is not the kind of cold you can tough out. It's genuinely dangerous. The cold will be most extreme across Quebec and Ontario in Canada, where temperatures could plunge to 50 below zero with wind chills approaching 60 below. But the United States won't escape. The Great Lakes region, Northern Plains, and Northeast will all experience this brutal Arctic outbreak. Now, here's the good news that many of you have been waiting to hear. After we get through this weekend's Arctic blast, the pattern is finally going to flip. Starting around February 10th or 11th, the models are showing a dramatic shift in the temperature pattern across the United States. The persistent cold that has dominated the Midwest and East Coast is going to retreat, replaced by much warmer above-average temperatures. This isn't just a brief warm-up. The signals suggest this pattern change could persist through the middle and latter half of February. The reason for this shift comes down to the Arctic Oscillation. For weeks, the Arctic Oscillation has been deeply negative, which essentially means the polar jet stream has been weak and wavy, allowing frigid Arctic air to spill southward into the United States repeatedly. This is why we've seen one Arctic outbreak after another, one winter storm after another, with no relief in between. But the models are now showing the Arctic Oscillation trending toward neutral or even positive values as we move into mid-February. When the AO goes positive, the polar jet stream strengthens and stays further north, keeping the coldest air locked up in the Arctic where it belongs. This translates to warmer temperatures for the lower 48 states. The ensemble forecasts are remarkably consistent on this pattern change. After the brutally cold weekend of February 7th through 9th, temperatures should begin moderating. By Valentine's Day and the days surrounding it, much of the Midwest and Eastern Seaboard could be experiencing above-average temperatures, a dramatic reversal from what we've been dealing with. For those of you in the Northern Plains, Upper Midwest, and Great Lakes region who have been absolutely buried under snow and frozen solid for weeks, this warm-up will be a welcome relief. You'll finally get a chance to thaw out, and some of that tremendous snowpack will begin to melt. Of course, this raises concerns about flooding in some areas, but after the winter you've endured, a little warmth is desperately needed. Interestingly, while the east warms up, the pattern flip will send colder and stormier weather toward the west coast. The Pacific Northwest and California will see below-average temperatures and increased precipitation as we head into mid-February. The storm track that has been hammering the east all winter will essentially redirect toward the west. So what does this mean for winter storm potential going forward? The short answer is that the eastern United States should see a significant reduction in major winter storm activity after this week. Without the persistent cold air in place, the atmosphere loses the key ingredient needed to produce significant snow events. Any systems that do develop will likely produce rain instead of snow for much of the region. This doesn't mean winter is completely over. We're only in early February, and cold shots can still occur even in a more positive AO regime. But the relentless parade of Arctic outbreaks and major snowstorms that has defined January and early February should come to an end. For the Carolinas specifically, the snow that fell this past weekend will gradually begin melting as temperatures moderate. The warm-up won't be immediate. Cold air remains in place through early this week, but by mid-February, readings should climb above freezing during the day, allowing the impressive snowpack to diminish. Looking at the longer range, the ensemble guidance suggests this warmer pattern could persist into late February and potentially early March. The North Atlantic Oscillation is also trending toward more neutral or positive values, which reinforces the idea that the extreme cold pattern is breaking down. Now I want to address something important. While I'm confident in this pattern change, I want to be careful not to oversell it. Weather forecasting beyond 7 to 10 days involves significant uncertainty. The models can and do change, sometimes dramatically, at these extended ranges. For example, if you look at consecutive model runs for dates around February 13th or 14th, you'll see vastly different solutions. One run might show a major storm system, the next run might show nothing. This is normal model behavior at extended ranges, and it's why I always caution against getting too attached to any specific forecast more than a week out. What I am confident about is the overall trend. The teleconnection indices, the Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillation, are clearly trending in a direction that supports warmer weather for the eastern United States. Multiple ensemble systems are picking up on this signal. The physics of the atmosphere support this pattern change. So, while I can't tell you exactly what February 15th or February 20th will look like in terms of specific weather systems, I can tell you with reasonable confidence that the overall pattern will be significantly warmer and less active than what we've experienced over the past month. Let me give you a timeline summary of what to expect. This week through Friday, February 6th. Relatively quiet weather with minor snow chances across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. Cold temperatures persist, but nothing extreme. Weekend of February 7th-9th. Dangerous Arctic blast grips the Great Lakes and Northeast. Wind chills could reach 40 to 60 below zero. This is a life-threatening cold event that demands respect. Week of February 9th-13th. Pattern transition begins. Temperatures start moderating across the Midwest and East. The cold begins retreating northward. February 14th and beyond, warmer pattern takes hold. Above-average temperatures become more common across the eastern two-thirds of the country. Storm track shifts toward the west coast. For those of you who have been counting down the days until spring, this pattern change is the first real sign that the brutal winter of 2026 is beginning to wind down. We still have February and March to get through, and winter can certainly throw surprises our way, but the most extreme and dangerous portion of this winter appears to be coming to an end. The comparison to the legendary winter of 2013 to 2014 remains apt. That season featured intense cold and snow through January and February before finally moderating in March. We may be following a similar trajectory, with the worst now behind us and a gradual return to more normal conditions ahead. Stay warm this weekend, especially if you're in the Great Lakes or Northeast. The cold coming Saturday through Monday will be no joke. But take heart. Warmer days are finally on the horizon. This has been an absolutely historic winter, and I want to thank everyone who has been following along through these updates. The storms, the cold, the ice, it's been relentless. But we're finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Stay safe out there, and I'll continue bringing you updates as this pattern change unfolds.